Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stoner, with another episode of VSW. Thank you. We're kicking things off. This is Mania weekend. We're here with the Save Wolf. Woo! We got another special guest in the house, Mike Panchu from the Lightzilla podcast.
Thank you for having me once again. Much appreciated.
He's back. We're going to have a very special night. This is part 1 of WrestleMania, covering night 1. Then we'll be doing night 2. Then we'll be opening up the floor for questions, answers, shooting the shit, anything you want. What a night for the VSW podcast. What a Mania week. And what a way to start it.
All right, here is Mike Panchu once again. Here is how things will roll out. So basically, I will be asking Versace Stoner and the Save Wolf about their predictions and analysis on the matches that will happen at WrestleMania. They will not only give their predictions, but they will give out their opinions on the order of the match cards for nights 1 and 2. And let's get right into it. WrestleMania Night 1 match card. The first match that we're going to discuss. New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston versus AJ Styles and Omos for the Raw Tag Team Championships. Let's get right into it.
I don't even know if this match is honestly necessary. I mean, you got a lot of great stars in it. You got New Day, great tag team, don't you say?
Absolutely, one of the best in the PG era for sure. They got some memorable moments, but I also like that it's Omos's debut. And don't forget, if AJ Styles wins this, he's never had a tag team title ring at WrestleMania.
See, that's the only reason why I'm thinking it's kind of unnecessary. I like AJ Styles singly. I don't know how he's going to do in a tag team. We've seen him in stables. We've seen him last year with the OC, and how he worked with them. But how's he going to work, just one-on-one with another person? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to jive. We never really saw that. And like you said, he's never had a tag team title run. You got New Day, the veterans. They're WrestleMania, they're the Rockers of this era for WrestleManias. Every WrestleMania when I was growing up as a kid, we would see the Rockers and all these other teams. They're them of today, They're that positive, great face team. Like you said,
they took a random gimmick. They took a random gimmick that wasn't supposed to go anywhere, just as a stereotype, and they excelled to new heights as Big E, Xavier Woods, and Kofi Kingston. But Versace, the reason why I'm excited for this, because if AJ Styles wins the tag titles, he'll be a Grand Slam and Triple Crown champion. He's won the U.S. Intercontinental and WWE titles.
That is very true. Yeah, you're right. He was also U.S. And did he win the IC too, right?
Yeah, during the pandemic.
Yep, he had that. And then he's held the worlds. He would be that champion, and I think that means something today, because it's kind of hard to get all these titles when they're branded. So it goes to show you that he's been to multiple brands and been on top in all the brands that he's been in. He's been champion in all the brands at one point or another.
AJ's the face that runs the place for a reason. Versace. He's faced Chris Jericho, Undertaker, all the top guys, Roman, Seth.
He has. The only matches that I really weren't my favorite match, I think that could have been better for him, was his Nakamura matches.
I agree.
They should have been done, how New Japan should have had them done. But that's a different story for a different day.
We can talk about it on the Q&A about
we could, because that's another, Mania moment. We'll talk about that in the third hour or so.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm pretty disappointed we didn't get AJ versus Triple H, but maybe they'll save it for next year in Dallas.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've noticed with Triple H, he does these foreign shows. He does these shows in India. He does these shows in Europe. Maybe we see him do this in India.
So, Versace, for my prediction, I think it's quite obvious that AJ Styles and Omos, former Nigerian basketball player, USF Sandow, I think he'll start his career off undefeated and tag champ, and he can easily go to the heavyweight title scene if he has become a... Who do you think's going to win, Versace?
I have to go with that as well. I do think the New Day are going to be there to kind of, pass the reign on to somebody else. Because eventually, let's face it, the New Day are all going to be solo. They're all excelling. They can all do it solo. They can all excel solo. So I think they're all going to be on their own. This is a great way for AJ to, be that Triple Crown, like you said. A great way for the other guy to get into the door. This is going to be a great matchup. But I'm giving it to AJ Styles.
And here's the thing is that I think what happens with the New Day after they lose, you'll find out on night 2 when I talk about during the Big E and Apollo match what I think's going to... But where I think this should be in the card on Saturday, if Omos can go and all 4 of them can work a great match, this should open it. They have great entrances, the New Day. That's what WWE's looking for.
I think, well, for many reasons. The way, they regard their tag titles, I think they're going to open the show with this. Other years, it's been the main title, the year was like Brock Lesnar versus Seth. I don't think they're going to do that this year. It's the first time with crowds. They're going to want to pop. Once you hear that New Day sound and the crowd is going to go wild, I think that's who they're going to start this show with.
Yeah, and we're ready for the next match, Panch.
Awesome. I'm even more excited for Mania now, to be honest. Moving on, Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon. Steel cage match.
The best in the...
I have to laugh. Listen, Braun Strowman's kind of been the brunt of the jokes for the last 5 years. They given it all to him. He won the greatest Royal Rumble.
Money in the Bank.
It all led to nothing. He had a small title run.
He never got the Universal title. He teased a cash-in SummerSlam a few years ago against Roman and Lesnar, but
it never happened. He had that feud with the Fiend.
Yeah, and he beat Goldberg, taking Roman Reigns' place since they were in the Performance Center for the Universal title, and thankfully that didn't main event. But anyways.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a fan of Shane McMahon on this. Shane is another Mr. WrestleMania in a lot of ways. He has some very classic moments.
Especially versus Father, WrestleMania.
Oh, my God. All those earlier WrestleManias in the Attitude Era. He was great. The match with Kurt Angle, my God.
Yeah.
He's had memorable matches. Yeah, I think he should have won that tournament? Probably not. But let's face it, now he's the best in the world.
You know what the funny thing is? On a card where it doesn't have Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, Triple H, or John Cena advertised for a match. But hey, you got Shane McMahon.
You got Shane taking the place of over 6 or 7 different people that should have been headlined for this show. In one way or another. They had success doing, cinematic matches. Use some of the older legends and do the cinematic matches. I don't think the fans would complain as much if they did that instead of making them fight in the ring. It's a different vibe. Sting was fine on AEW. He looked good, actually, in a cinematic match. Whereas if it was a regular match, it would look just probably like that Goldberg match that we saw a couple years ago. But, like I said, this is another match. I don't know what's the point? Who really gets over in this? Whoever wins doesn't really get over. What's the point of winning over Braun Strowman? And what's the point of winning over Shane McMahon? There's really no winner in this match. It was a
cartoonist kind of dumb build as... It started when Braun got pissed that he wasn't in the Elimination Chamber because even though he was a former Universal Champion, he wasn't a former WWE Champion that got... All the people that got put in the title match against Drew McIntyre in the chamber were former WWE champs.
See, and that's what I'm saying. The build-up to this match.
It's like a Nickelodeon slime type of feud.
It is, and that's what I feel like that they've been doing with Braun Strowman for the last few years. We had that very, very funny feud, in my opinion, with, KO there, Kevin Owens, when he threw him into the porta potty off the thing. He was covered in shit. There was all this stuff that Braun was, beating him and hunting him. And it just...
I'm not fitness for you.
It's not the monster that he should be, booked as. If this was 1980 or early 1990, you would see him as a monster. He would have been face of the company. Vince would have been pushing him to the top. Big, huge, strong. He's just not being used right.
So my prediction is, I think they're going to go with Braun Strowman to win. And I honestly think that this should be in the middle of the card. I'd say maybe the third match because this isn't a bathroom break type of match, but people aren't as into it. I'd rather an other match right before it, as I'll talk about later. But I think Braun won. You, Versace?
I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think Shane's going to take the victory. I mean, look how he won that whole tournament. He beat out everybody. He's coming to Mania for a reason, to make himself look good. Let's face it, he's not here to put anybody over. He's Shane McMahon.
The best in the world.
I think he wins the match. I don't think he's going to open it. I don't think he's, maybe the second or third match in. I would go with maybe the third match in, I'm going to say. This will be.
Mm-hmm. Ready to move on?
I am ready to move on.
Okay,
Moving
Pants.
on. Women's Fatal 4-Way Qualifier match to face Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler for the women's tag titles on night 2.
So they just announced this on Raw a little while ago. It's going to be Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott of the Riott Squad versus the team of Natalya and I think Tamina versus the team of Lana and Naomi. And I think the other team, I forget what. I'll admit I'll look this up. Do you guys know who the fourth team is?
I don't. I was honestly preparing for the podcast while Raw was going on. Like you said, it was just announced. It seems to be everybody in the women's division that's not in the main event.
Because I don't think they're doing the women's battle royal this year.
The Mae Young one?
Yeah, it was the Fabulous Moolah, but they took it. It just became the women's battle royal.
Oh, yeah. It was with all that came out about Moolah.
Oh, yeah, the team of Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. Sorry, folks. It was just announced, so.
So what is the full lineup of teams again? Do you have it right there?
Yep.
So
I got the poster with me. Lana, Naomi versus Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus the Riott Squad of Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott versus the team of Natalya and Tamina.
This is an interesting matchup. You got a lot of talented women that haven't been in the limelight yet that probably should be. I mean, you got veterans like the Riott Squad who tore apart NXT. You got a lot of solo stars that are being thrown into a tag team. That Naomi team looks pretty good.
And Lana was a sole survivor of Survivor Series when they bullied her through a table all the time. How hilarious.
Well, yeah, and you got her, she wasn't the best with that whole Bobby Lashley thing, but she's doing better now. Let's just say they're doing better with her now.
I think since her husband Rusev, now known as Miro in AEW's involved in some funny arcade stuff right now, I think it's making Lana stand out a little bit, but I'm glad Naomi's got a spot in the very athletic, has a great entrance and great moveset, very underrated in the women's division.
It definitely is. But you know what? With this one, I'm going to really have to say, I think they're going to give it to Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. I think they're well overdue for a title shot.
Yeah.
I think they'll have good chemistry the second night. And I think they're going to take this match. They're the only ones that really seem to fit for it. The only other team I could think of is, who's Naomi tagging with again? Natalya?
Lana, Natalya, and Tamina Snuka are teaming up. And, well, it's interesting. Natalya's and Tamina's daughters of two deceased Hall of Fame legends, and Jimmy Snuka and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, respectively. So their veteran status will have a tough time.
See, that is true now. Thinking of that matchup, I honestly thought that Lana was teaming up with Naomi.
It is hilarious.
But if you got now, you got two second-generation superstars coming in together. Both, Snuka was the face of the company, for a while. And, regardless of whatever came with everything out in the light, again, that's, other stuff, he was good. And I think she learned, she knows what she's doing. And you got Natalya, one of the best of the best.
She is awesome. She doesn't give a lot of credit.
I don't think she gets booked right. She's an awesome wrestler. Yeah. They just don't put her in the right matches. They don't give her the right respect that she's
and
getting.
They either turn her face or heel all the time.
Exactly. If she was, booked like her, her father in a strong tag team, to start off, or her brother-in-law there, Brett.
Yeah, well, Brett's her uncle.
Or uncle, but, if she was, booked like that, just stayed face.
She started off as a New Heart Foundation with Davey Boy Smith's son, Dave Smith and Tyson Kidd, her husband.
She did, but like I'm saying, if they just kept her like Brett, kept her face the whole time through, I think she would have really got over.
I do too, and like the internet, people either love or hate Natalya because she's a very nice person.
She's very nice. She's a great wrestler, but they put her in the most boringest matches, and that's what I think the fans have problems with.
But I'm going to go, you made your predictions, I'm going to go with the Riot Squad to win just because if they were booked right with Sarah Logan instead of being a jobber tag team a few years ago when they first debuted on Raw, it would have been more serious, but I think they can right the ship. Liv Morgan is good for punk people. She could be a very good face of she could have been in Alexa Bliss's role with The Fiend right now, but I think the Riot Squad versus Shayna Baszler versus Lana Jax, they all want to see Nia lose, so I think the crowd will get right behind them on night.
I think almost anybody that wins this, the crowd is going to get behind.
Because a lot of people can't stand Nia Jax at all.
And when do you think this match will take place?
I think it's either going to be right before the two big matches, Fire tonight, or I think it should be the second match because right off whatever they put as the first match, it's going to get a huge ovation. And this is a good second match because it's not a title shot, but it would be a pre-show type of match. So that should be right after the first match.
Yeah, I think it's going to be early on in the card because I think that the second Night 2 match is going to be a little bit higher up in the card.
Yeah. Night 1's easier for me to place than Night 2, but I'm ready to move on. Are you?
I sure am.
Next.
All right, I can tell this is going to be a very, very good discussion. Seth Rollins versus Cesaro.
God, I can't wait for this match.
This match is going to be tremendous. I mean, you got two top talents, Seth Rollins, Monday Night Messiah, killing it.
Formerly in the Shield, he had a huge plenty of WrestleMania moments.
Oh, plenty of WrestleMania moments, plenty of title runs. He has done it almost all, if not all.
I think he's won every title currently in WWE except maybe the SmackDown tag titles.
But then you got him versus the greatest wrestler that hasn't won anything, basically.
Well, he had a lot of tag team title runs, and he debuted as a U.S. champ, and he won the inaugural Andre the Giant Battle Royal, eliminating the Big Show in WrestleMania 30, which should have started. How the hell is Cesaro not an IC or world champion?
That's what I mean. I mean, yeah, tag champions is something, but how are you not seeing mid-card of gold or, top gold by now? Now. He's been in here. He's definitely talented.
His neuralizer and his swing is amazing. Gets the fans
so
over.
Athletic. Like I said, he's got a perfect body. He's got a perfect wrestling status. He's just great wrestler overall. Technically sound. I don't understand it. I don't know why he hasn't been pushed harder than he should be. He should be at the top at least somewhere in one of the nights of, WWF. Even if they send him back to NXT in the black and gold and have him, be NXT champion. Give him that. Give him something.
Yeah.
I
think this is a hard match to book because Seth Rollins beat his former tag partner. He tagged with a lot, but recently teamed up with Shinsuke Nakamura, who's not on the card. Rollins beat him, and his whole storyline is getting upset at Cesaro, how he'll never make it. He's on the Friday Night Messiah, but Seth Rollins, he came back because Becky Lynch had his baby. Congratulations, by the way, with him. And, I think Seth Rollins should be booked high in case you need to turn him face later on in the year.
See, but that's the whole thing, Turn him face. When he was face, the fans just would not get behind him. He was probably one of the lowest respected champions ever that I've seen.
Everyone thought that would be the case with Drew McIntyre, but it
was not. Drew had one of the most outstanding runs, and still, to this day, I'll say he held his own through the pandemic, and he, helped the company thrive. Seth, on the other hand, for some reason, whatever the reason may be, not in the IWC, on Twitter, Facebook, wherever that is, not on the real life, they just would not support this guy as champion. I don't know if it was the way he won the match, if he just was boring. As soon as, that was the hypest thing, and as soon as he got it, he was just a fallout. And, he even admitted it. The fans were brutal towards him.
Absolutely, especially when AEW was launching on the stage and he was defending WWE.
He was defending WWE on social. You had people fighting him online, and he blocked a bunch of people. They were calling him Doink the Clown.
I love his finisher, and he's the one who started his singles career by turning back on Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns to break up.
Where was he again before WWE?
He was Tyler Black on Ring of Honor.
He was pretty vicious there. I've seen some of his matches.
Absolutely, but I'll give my prediction on this match. I would book Seth Rollins to win, but I do not want either of these men to look weak or the other to dominate over the other. Let them get their finishers in, like Cesaro can swing them 10 plus times, which pissed Seth Rollins off because Cesaro would swing him. This led Seth to be obsessed with him. But I would put this match as, I think, the fourth match, the middle of the card, because this is a match fans, or you open with this, which they could do. That would be a great opener. But I'm hoping it's the fourth match on the card. That's what I think, because they'll open with either one of the matches we talk about later or the New Day match. How about you, Versace?
I think this match is going to end in some kind of controversy. Either a double countout, either Nakamura comes in and does something, some kind of interference. I just, I don't see it ending clean. I see it either ending in a stare, like I said, double count out, fighting outside, or somebody interferes on one of the other sides to make it, I just don't see either one of them getting the clean win. Because someone has to lose this match, and I think both of them shouldn't have to. I don't think it's going to be a clean victory.
I'd be okay with that.
Both of them will save a little face in this.
Yeah, and you got to keep Seth strong in case they need guys to face Roman or Edge later, or Daniel Bryan.
I mean, even as a heel champion, Seth could do it again, He could. Whether it's mid-card champion, final champion, whatever, whatever he does.
Absolutely, Versace. Where do you think this should be on the card?
I think it's going to be placed later in the night. Maybe third to last match. I think because it is going to be kind of exciting. It'll get the fans kind of re-amped up into it before their main events.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on. Your thoughts on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal and SmackDown Tag Team titles on SmackDown this Friday?
First off, let me just say, I'm not really too happy about it being on SmackDown. You got 2 nights of Mania. The point of having 2 nights is to get everything in. How do you not have one of the greatest things happening on Mania happen actually at Mania? I just don't get that. I just don't. They've done it with years when you've only had 1 night Manias. Whether it's gone 6 hours or not on the pre-show. Lately. But whatever it's on, it's been on it. Why not do that again? I'm fine with it on the pre-show at Mania. Give the new talent the Mania opportunity to be on the screen at Mania. A lot of these guys have fought for years, or some of them are new faces. But give them that first, glimpse of what it's like to be on the grandest stage of them all. I don't believe in this SmackDown putting them on Friday night. I believe that they're all getting robbed.
Same as the SmackDown tag titles, because the Street Profits are amazing, belong on the ring. They're the most charismatic tag team I've seen in years.
They had a banger match, before they
And Ziggler and Rude are champions, outstanding, underrated talent.
The tag team division does not get enough, light, really. I don't think they get enough. The tag teams in the older Manias, they were big matches. It meant something to have these tag titles defended. Now you see it on the pre-show. Now you're seeing it on days before. You're not even seeing it on Mania, wherever it's going to be. You're not. It should be. It's a major title. It's one of your 3 major titles that you started with.
And if I think that it's a possibility Rey Mysterio and his son Dominic won't win the titles that they put in, because that would have been an outstanding Mania. And why did you turn Otis heel? Randomly team up with Chad Gable instead of Tucker, which makes no sense.
Both of those 2 are a waste anyways. I mean, honestly, I don't know what their whole plan with Otis was. They had some comedy with him and Mandy Rose. They gave him the waste of a Money in the Bank just to have it, switch-swapped all around to give Miz a title run for, a day.
So the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, it's given Braun Strowman and Big Show winners. The first winner, like I said earlier, was Cesaro. It should be used to either have a debut new talent or some return from injury win it and get them to the mild card scene. I think who should win this is a debuting, the guy who looks just like Brock Lesnar, Parker Boudreaux. He would be amazing to start his dominance, eliminate so many guys. And
that would, if anybody follows him on social, you can see this guy is ripped. He is ready to dominate the WWE. He was picked up. I believe he's already in the training center down in Florida. I'm not 100% sure. But this guy could easily, become victorious and get very over with the crowd one way or the other, either as, super heel, super face.
Next big thing.
He really is, He reminds me of that 80s superstar that's going to dominate and be the face of the company. I'm very excited to see him debut. There hasn't been any big men in wrestling that have really debuted in a long time that have shown the strength and the force that Parker has.
Absolutely. So, who do you think will win the Battle Royal before we move on?
Let's just say he's not entered. Who else are they really putting in there?
Maybe Keith. Jobbers that have tag teams that their partners are injured.
Is
they got
Keith Lee in it?
No, not supposedly, but it'd be a perfect.
He would be a perfect fit for that. If it's not going to be, like I said. Well, maybe Christian Casanova. He got signed up. We're talking new talent. I don't know. Are they putting August Gray in there from 205 Live?
Good.
They're doing all the new talent. I would like to see new faces be thrown in with old veterans.
Or you could have Mustafa Ali recently broke up from Retribution, turned on him to win it.
He would be a fine winner, too. He needs something. He was hot fire. But then, Retribution was flaming shit. So, I don't know. I honestly can't predict who's going to win this. Because it could either be a really good match or it could be just a dumpster fire.
Absolutely. I'm ready to move on. Are you?
Oh, I sure am.
Next up, Bad Bunny with Damian Priest versus The Miz with John Morrison.
Oh, Jesus.
I know a lot of people hate Bad Bunny or don't, believe he deserves to be here.
I'm fine with him appearing on Mania.
I totally disagree. He is there. We've always had celebrities, influential people brought to Manias. From the very beginning, first WrestleMania, you had Liberace performing. We've seen Aretha Franklin singing. We've had a lot of celebrities wrestle. What's his name? TL there in WrestleMania 11. We've had, football stars in WrestleMania 2. We've had tons of celebrities, okay? And this is just another celebrity, yes. But he's not only just another celebrity. He's a super passionate fan about WWE wrestling. He sings songs about it.
He's great for the Latin market.
Booker T. Yes, he's very, very, for the Latins. If you like his music, reggaeton style, he is phenomenal. I happen to be a fan of that type of music. I'm an old Daddy Yankee fan. I like his music. He did a very nice track with Cardi B. I'm a hip-hop fan. He fits, I think he has the jazz in the WWE. He comes in, dressed for the part. Like I said, he's that passionate fan, but he's also that celebrity. It's great for the WWE. It's great for cross-marketing. It's going to bring fans in. He was the top seller of merch already this year, outdoing people like The Fiend, outdoing people like Roman Reigns. He outsold them all.
And on Peacock and the new NBC stream platform, it's an opportunity to get casuals to watch. But let's talk about The Miz for a sec. He's a double, triple crown and Grand Slam champ. He just cashed in with the help of the Hurt Business after Lashley beat up McIntyre, which we'll talk about pretty soon. He had a very short title reign, which I wish he could have done after Mania or at the night itself. It's wasted. I think they should give him the win against Bad Bunny just so they can he's great as an arrogant, cowardly prick.
He is. He had that little feud with Shane McMahon and his father and all that, but for the most part, he is the arrogant heel prick. He reminds me of Rowdy Piper back in the day, on Piper's Pit. He brings people on. He ridicules them. He belittles them. I remember back when he had Sandows as his,
Oh, that was great stuff.
He used to belittle the shit out of him. That's the kind of shit I miss in wrestling. The Miz is a classic character. I do, however,
he's one of the best on the mic with his reality show with his wife, Maurice.
Oh, it's great. I love that show, But I'm going to have to say they're going to give it to Bad Bunny. He is, the fan favorite. He is his probably first and only WrestleMania appearance. And let's face it, the fans are going to be behind him.
So, you go with Bad Bunny, I'm going with Miz. This is a hard one to place because you can sort of have it like the popcorn match, but I don't think it should be too early in the card. I think it should be either the second to last match or right before the two big matches if they do it. If there's no huge backstage or stage segment in night one, I'll think they'll save that for night two because you gotta use it. Some people use it as a piss break or the casuals be excited to watch. That should be late at the night, I think. How about you, Versace?
Oh, I think it's definitely going to be up in the card. I think it might even be actually the second to last match just because, they want to put Bad Bunny's face and name out there. I believe it's going to be second to last.
Absolutely. You ready to move on?
I sure am.
Next up is Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Okay, first of all, let's talk. This should be the closing match of night one. And Bianca Belair needs to become the new women's champion. Everything has been in her favor.
Won the Royal Rumble this year.
She is, a phenomenal athlete. She killed it in NXT.
She should have beaten Shayna Baszler for the title in NXT.
She should have, but, they decided not to do that, and that's fine. Let's give her the WWE Women's title. This is a great matchup between these two. They're going to have great chemistry. They're both kind of, a little bit.
And don't forget, you know why I think you can make your case for a closing? Not only did WrestleMania 35 have the first ever women's main event, you would have two African-American women closing WrestleMania. Who would ever thought we'd ever see that?
That's what I'm saying. And plus,
great.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Sasha Banks is Mrs. WrestleMania. She is a phenomenal athlete.
She's 0-5 in WrestleMania, though.
She's an unbelievable athlete. She's very nice in person. We got to meet her, in
Cricket
Boston.
Wireless signing.
It was great, But like I said, they're both kind of hood, She is Snoop Dogg's cousin. Belair's kind of hip-hop-ish. They're going to have great chemistry together. They're going to have great feud. They're both sassy. They're both a little bossy. They're both going to be fighting hard for this title.
They both teased that they wanted to win the tag team titles with each other, but they failed both times because they have great chemistry. They seem like they'd be good friends backstage, and I think it would make a great match. But the build has kind of been slow to the point where fans don't really want to see it close, but a lot do.
Definitely, but I think it's going to close. I think it needs to close. Like you said, we have two African-American women closing this. This is 2021. Let this happen. Come on. Come on, people.
I agree. I think it should be the main event. Screw it. If not, I think it should be the second to last match if it doesn't main event. It's that.
Anything else is disrespectful to these two women because they're both great athletes. She's the Royal Rumble winner. That is just as prestigious as the male Royal Rumble winner, and they both should be treated the same. So I think it should close, like you said. If not, second to last, with Bianca Belair walking out with the gold.
It's either that. I think she's going to beat Sasha, but Sasha had an appearance in The Mandalorian. She's a horseman. It's kind of embarrassing that she hasn't had a victory at WrestleMania as one of the 4 horsewomen. But I still think they can give it to her next year, let Bianca Belair win, and I'm ready to move on to another big match. That's the last one we're covering for this podcast.
Perfect.
Approaching the 10-minute mark.
That will be Drew McIntyre versus the Hurt Business's Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship.
You know, if you told me this match was going to happen 6 months ago, I would laugh in your face and say you're crazy. Bobby Lashley has been great, though, coming out with that victory, becoming the champion. You know, like you said, The Miz did have a short run. It could have waited. It could have been Lashley kind of winning it directly, but...
And Drew McIntyre has carried the WWE on its back during a global pandemic.
He has, you know. He has been the face of this company. You know, the pop that he got when he won the Rumble was great. The pop that he got when he beat Lesnar was amazing, even though it was with no fans. You know, the pop that he's going to get with live fans, I can't wait to see. It's well overdue. This is a great matchup. Bobby Lashley, you know, very deserving champion.
I agree.
He's been phenomenal.
So Hurt Business reviled him after a failed bad storyline with Marion Lana and everything.
Oh, yeah. You know, and the Hurt Business did its job perfectly. It brought Bobby Lashley to where he needs to be, brought him to the limelight. This is great for him. You know, Drew, great wrestler. It's going to be a very physical match.
I absolutely agree with you. Drew with the Claymore kick. I really hope he goes back to his old theme for WrestleMania, Broken Dreams, instead of the Scottish Fiend, even though he is the Scottish psychopath. He had Braveheart paint and, again, Sheamus, which was a great match in Fastlane. And I love Drew. I think his moveset's great. He's a great big guy. But I think that they want to give him an opportunity with fans. He was robbed of that last year against Lesnar, which they just did finishing moves because they were in the Performance Center.
Oh, for sure, you know. But, you know, I can't really guarantee a winner in this. I can't predict one. There is one wild card that's still in the back of my head. You know, he has beef with one of these people. The other is a super dream match, and that is Mr. Brock Lesnar. If he was to show up to interfere in this match in any way and challenge Bobby Lashley for that title.
That's a dream match.
At SummerSlam, where he is Mr. SummerSlam, like, this could be bigger than big. Okay, if Lesnar comes out and, you know, costs Drew the match and Lashley retains and he challenges Lashley at SummerSlam for the title, the wrestling world will change.
Absolutely, and this is a match, like, this can either... You don't know where this match is going to be placed in the card. There's rumors it could open at the women's main event.
It could be middle of the event. You know, they've done double main events where, you know, title matches have been midway through.
But the World Heavyweight title back then did open some manias, but the WWE title has never opened the WrestleMania. I don't know but it would be great. I think whoever's going to win depends on where this match is placed on the... If it's first to last, I think Drew McIntyre's going to win just for the big pop. But I think if Lesnar interferes and Lashley wins, it's going to be anywhere match on the card. I think it should be the second to last match instead of the opener. You may disagree, but I think Drew's going to take it because they want to give him a pop with the fans for winning the title. How about you, Versace?
Like I said, it's going to depend on that one key factor. Is Lesnar there? If Lesnar shows up, it will be Bobby Lashley to be champion because that's the match that everybody wants to see. If Lesnar's out of it, I think that you're going to definitely see Bobby probably lose the title to Drew McIntyre. Give Drew the pop that he didn't get last year in front of the crowd, and then and then Bobby Lashley will probably recapture at SummerSlam. They will definitely give Lashley a longer run at some point, if not now.
Absolutely.
They're not gonna go from transitional champion to transitional champion and transitional champion. I mean, that's way too many times. Miz was one thing to Lashley, but to keep turning titles over and over, it just kind of defeats the purpose.
So, before we move on, Bobby Lashley, even if he loses to McIntyre, he gets a WrestleMania moment outside of that hair versus hair match when he faced Umaga representing Vince McMahon he represented a guy who probably shouldn't be named since we want to keep politics out. He's a figure who people either love or hate, no in between. You hear about it all the time, so that's all I'll say about this guy, kind of like the Voldemort or Chris Benoit treatment.
Yes. The man who should not be named.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you know, either way, you're right. Lashley gets a legitimate Mania moment, which I don't think he's had a legitimate moment in a while since winning the title. You know, he's been placed in shitty storylines. You know, the Hurt Business definitely brought him back. So this will be good. Either way, second to last. I still think the women need to main event this first night.
That's what I think too.
You know, we didn't get a second Evolution. We never did get one. The women don't get their main events all that often. You know, so let's give it to them. Let's give them night one. This, you know, it's a great matchup. This is going to be a great matchup too. Don't get me wrong, but like you said, depending on if Lesnar's there, it'll be placed second to last. It might even, to be honest with you, if Lesnar's there, it might even close night one just so it ends in a cliffhanger with Lesnar and, you know, Lashley staring each other down. If there's no Lesnar, there's no need for this to close. It can be mid in the card, second to last if best. And, you know, like you said, it'll depend on, you know, what happens there. If, you know, one's not there, I think Drew wins. If he's there, I think Lashley.
All right. So there's night one match. Any other questions, Panchu, for me or Versace?
For sure, absolutely. I do have some on-the-spot questions. Do you think Vince, on purpose, left out guys like Cena, Triple H, and Lesnar from wrestling on the WrestleMania card?
I definitely think he somewhat did, since this is a weird year and fans coming back, they're going to buy the ticket. Don't forget, they're having Dallas and Los Angeles in 2 years. That would be huge manias.
I mean, let's also not forget, is Cena doing any videos?
I think he's filming movies.
You know, when he's not around wrestling, he's usually filming a movie. That's usually been the trend. Lesnar's Lesnar. I don't know if he's looking for full-time, part-time, or any time. And who was the third guy you mentioned?
Cena, Triple H, and Lesnar.
Triple H, I'm
running NXT.
I'm going to be honest with you about something about Triple H. His time at WrestleMania wrestling has passed. He could probably do one more match, maybe. But let's face it, he's getting old. You know, he's you know, not what he used to be. He's not WrestleMania 30. He's not WrestleMania 20. He's definitely not Attitude Era. You know, he's much older. He has a lot more on his plate now. He's more the businessman. You know, like I said, he does a gimmick match here or there. That's fine. But I don't think you're going to see him, you know. There's no need for him to win a match, and I don't see him putting people over either. Like I said, he's more the businessman type now and out of the main scene. I think, like I said, with Vince, it's also a weird year. He didn't know how it was going to go, if it's going to sell out, not sell out. But,
we are 2-minute warning.
2-minute one, that's fine. I don't think he deliberately kept people out of this. But, like I said, there's got to be reasons behind it. And who knows, we might see surprises. Cena could show up. You know, maybe Triple H doesn't show up, but Cena definitely could. Lesnar still definitely could.
I do think the surprise segments or backstage more of them will happen night two, but I think
they're not going to make night one just bullshit. They're just not going to. They're going to give us something, because you got to remember, night one starts an hour later. Does it not?
Absolutely. Night one's at 8 o'clock Sunday. Night 2, 7, I believe. So,
you know, it's going to be more that, like, you know, UFC boxing style fail Saturday Night Wrestling. You got to love it. This is all the time we have for this episode covering night one of WrestleMania.
Woo!
Tune in directly after for night two. We're covering the big one, and then after that, we're going to open it up. Anybody can call in, question, and answer. We're going to be talking WrestleMania moments and all the fun and glory. Thank you, everybody. It's been a great time. Versace Stoner out.
Disable out.